Hi, I'm Marie McCanyo, and I'm the author of this book called The Chocolate Pilgrim, A Journey to Self-Discovery and Transformation on the Camino de Santiago. I walked the Camino de Santiago in 2009, and I just published the book this fall. I had no intention of writing a book when I did the walk. However, it really insisted on being written, so I'm going to read you something from the introduction. 10 years since the Camino started pulling me in like an ocean tide from over 7,000 kilometers away. I'm finally unable to resist any longer. Rod, my husband, Russell, our adult son, and I are packed and ready to fly to Europe tomorrow. It's becoming increasingly clear to me that I'm secretly grappling with difficult feelings about whether I should stay married. I lie awake at night wondering whether Rod and I will ever be able to feel excitement in each other's company again. And yet we're off tomorrow, about to spend 6 weeks together. Keeping important information quiet is something Rod and I both do well. From my perspective today, I can see that in choosing to walk the Camino Trail across northern Spain in 2009, I was choosing to walk towards something. I grew up among people who regarded violence, silence, and abuse as acceptable, and for most of my life, I'd been moving away from something, both physically and emotionally, from my large and uneven family of origin, from organized religion, from people who made me feel invisible. Ironically, I'm seriously thinking about walking away from my marriage at the start of this pilgrimage. The route we chose, the Camino de Santiago, also known as the Camino Frances, is 780 kilometers long, originating in the Pyrenees in France, crossing northern Spain, and ending at the cathedral locating in the city of Santiago de Compostela. Continuing on to the city of Finisterre on the Atlantic Ocean adds another 80 kilometers. I originally planned to spend 28 days, 4 weeks, walking the Camino, having calculated that the entire journey could be completed within that time frame by traveling an average of 30 kilometers a day. The day I decided to walk the Camino, I was hiking across Forbidden Plateau in Strathcona Park, Vancouver Island, on a 23-kilometer-long trail with Rod and 3 hiking friends. During our Forbidden Plateau hike, one of the women in our party began talking about her bucket list, and the Camino showed up in our conversation. It turned out we had all had walking the Camino on our lists. As the day progressed, we kept fleshing out the idea of doing the walk together, what time of year we would go, how many days it would take, and how much it would cost. My excitement kept building. By the end of the day, I was totally convinced that if I could walk 20-plus kilometers in a day with a pack on my back, I had what it would take to complete a journey like this, doing the same thing day after day. I even had a benchmark to make this assessment, since I personally knew somebody who wasn't a super athlete who had walked the trail. By the end of that August day in 2008, feeling high from the walk and strong in my body, I declared, I'm going to walk the Camino in the spring of 2009. That day, I was 55 years old, nearer to 56 to be completely honest. I'd been an active self-propelled traveler for more than 30 years. However, I wasn't sure how long my body would have the ability to walk long distances. Rod's endurance was more questionable. He'd been diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL, in 2005, a slow-to-progress blood cancer. Concern for Rod's health was one of the reasons we decided to move away from Calgary. In 2007, relocated to Vancouver Island, to what our son called our hippie roots. Choosing to walk the Camino Frances didn't mean I thought of myself as a traditional pilgrim. I was curious and wanted an adventure. I loved to walk. I wasn't prepared to travel alone, so I was grateful that Rod and Russell were coming along. Although our daughter Emma chose not to join us, she was with me in spirit throughout the journey. And there were also times when I felt the presence of my mother, Valentine, even though she was safely tucked away in a Calgary cemetery. Had my mother still been alive at the time of planning our Camino, I'm quite certain that she would have found some sarcastic words to say about my plan to walk across northern Spain. So if you're interested at all, feel free to go to my website, www.mariemacagno.com, and go to my books page. There's information there about how to order it. Or you can also go to amazon.com and search for The Chocolate Pilgrim. My book is available there as well. Thank you.